And joining us also is the former governor of Wisconsin, now the Grand Poobah over at Young America's Foundation, the president there, and I believe he'll be down in Dallas for CPAC 2. Governor Scott Walker. Good morning, Governor.
Hey, good morning. I like getting Grand Poobah on my card there.
You should get a fez. I think that would be a good look over at YAF, and then everyone will call you the Grand Poobah. Listen, you're already doing such incredible work there at Young America's Foundation, and then to top it off, you've now created a brand new initiative that I'm so excited about. It's about the Free Speech Caucus. You're teaming with Representatives Jim Jordan and Kat Cammack in the House of Representatives, focusing on free speech on campuses. Tell me how this is going to look.
Yeah, for us, we recognize that when we talk about cancel culture, the place it starts is on our college and university campuses, where it's not just a liberal bias like we've seen in the past, where they don't even get a chance to speak. Students, speakers, conservative organizers, this Free Speech Caucus, which is just growing by leaps and bounds, as we announced yesterday morning. And again, big thanks to Representatives Jordan and Cammack. They've stepped up and got their colleagues to join in. But this is something we're going to need to fight at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, at the university level, and their leadership is going to make a big difference.
James Madison, who wrote the Bill of Rights and much of the Constitution, he was one of the leaders of the very first session of the House of Representatives, Congressional Session number 1. His legacy is interwoven into every piece of fabric for the House of Representatives. Why do we even need a free speech caucus, for crying out loud? The membership should be 435, Governor.
Well, you're exactly right. Well, in the same way that free speech is indeed, as you just mentioned, guaranteed in our Constitution, and yet it should be the most revered on our college campuses, but instead we see it's what's the most under risk. There is great diversity on colleges and university campuses across America on everything except thought. If you're a conservative, heck, if you're even a moderate, on most campuses today in America, you're one of the most endangered species. An outspoken conservative or even moderate voice is an outcast. It's not just about getting bad grades. It's not just about being put down by your professor. It's your own fellow students. It's the activists that are embedded in these universities who are making it difficult to even have a discussion. We've had time after time where, my goodness, we just had a case that we're pushing right now in the courts legally. Art Laffer, about the nicest guy you can get, about one of the most distinguished economists, comes to talk at one campus about economic freedom, and the moment he takes the microphone, agitators, rioters, and others shut him down. And who did the police from the campus police take out? Art Laffer. They remove Art Laffer from the lecture hall, not the agitators. This is just one of many examples where conservative voices aren't being heard, and that hurts conservative, moderate, and just independent thinkers who want to hear from more than just the radical left. That's what the Free Speech Caucus is about, helping to preserve that.
Governor Walker, I'd love for you to sort of turn to some of the other things that Young America's Foundation is doing right now, because it's so vital and so it's important. End of the school year, a lot of parents are now looking, their kids just graduated, and they're looking to send their kids to college. They've already made their choices. And I'll tell you, as a parent who has sent 2 kids to college now, this is a tough time because you're about to let your kid leave home, and they're going to be influenced by so much on these campuses. And that's where Young America's Foundation can be a bit of an oasis. What should parents do to get their kids connected with what you're doing?
YAF.org, YAF.org. I think you're exactly right. I'm in the same boat. I've got 2 kids who are now adults. Both of them one went to a public college, a government-run institution. The other went to a private one. Even the private Catholic institution, sadly, was increasingly moving towards the woke agenda of the left. Both of them came out solid because they were surrounded by good folks. They got involved. One of them through YF, brought Steve Forbes on the campus. They were both involved with YAF. They were both involved with College Republicans. They both got involved with other groups like Students for Life. Even the one who went to the University of Wisconsin, which is kind of like Berkeley, came out actually stronger, more conservative. But it was because the key was he was surrounded by people who shared his views, and he was supported by them, and he socially still stays connected to them. I think that's important for any parent or grandparent listening. Get them involved in our programs. Go to YF.org. not only YAF programs, but other similar conservative voices on campus, it'll make a huge difference.
Well, and now your kid's going to have some backup in the House of Representatives with Congressman Jordan and Kamek starting this free speech caucus. And they're going to be working with Young America's Foundation. You guys are going to be advising this caucus on a monthly basis about the latest on campus, which is phenomenal. And let's really quickly turn to high school, because Young America's Foundation and your work, Governor Walker, as their president, it's not just limited to college campuses. And you've got it going on in your backyard. You guys are out there in Loudoun County. You see what's happening right now with the community activism with regard to critical race theory in the curriculum. All of our public schools are facing these issues. How excited are you that we've got sort of a grassroots effort right now of conservatives who are really focusing on cleaning up the schools and getting these conservative principles in our backyard?
Well, I think one of the few benefits, I should say, of this last year and the pandemic and the shutdowns has been how eye-opening it's been for so many parents out there, not only high school, but junior high, middle school, and even younger students. These parents see what's being taught or what's not being taught. In some cases, it's a lack of things. In other cases, like critical race theory, which really is, Larry, let's be honest, this is state-sponsored racism. These are the things that my parents taught me the reverse of. They taught us to not see people through the prism of their race, but rather to see them as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, to be judged by the content of the character, not the color of their skin. And yet we have state-sponsored racism, not just in college, not just the lofty Ivy Towers, but rather right in high schools and middle schools and even elementary schools across America. That's part of the reason why AF we're pushing the long game, which is really an approach to say we've got to reach not only every college student in America, but we've got to go deeper into high school, even into junior high and middle school, and help not only the students, but help these parents you're talking about get the materials they need to counter things like the 1619 Project, critical race theory, to stop having our educators teach our children to hate America and instead to love it, to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly for sure. We're not glossing things over, but we're saying you can't just focus on the negative.
Governor Walker, do you think that that when it comes to the college students, even the high school students, is there just a lack of understanding of American history, or do you think that we're really moving towards this indoctrination about socialism, Marxism in America?
I think it's both, Mercedes. I think it is there's the lack of the fundamentals, which then in turn makes it easy for those in the radical left. And I don't think that's most educators. I think most teachers, even many professors in college and universities, but particularly most teachers in our high schools and junior highs, they just want to teach the truth. It's one of the reasons why in our long game we include, amongst other things, helping students. We actually create a network to help educators, not only conservative educators, but even just those that don't have a political edge, but just want to teach the facts. Right now, they feel overwhelmed. The curriculum they're given, the textbooks they're given to teach are so far out of whack with this liberal indoctrination. They need help to get the truth out. There was just a story the other day that showed that most Americans can't identify on a map where Niagara Falls and the Grand Canyon is. I understand you've got a Vice President, Kamala Harris, who can't figure out where the border is. So no wonder Americans can't figure out these other places. But seriously, we need basic, objective American history and probably a little bit of geography as well.
Governor Scott Walker, we got to leave it there. Now president of Young America's Foundation, now spearheading the new Free Speech Caucus with Congressman Jordan and Kamek. Thank you always for joining us, sir. Good to talk with you.
My pleasure. See you, Mercedes, at CPAC.